Hello and welcome to Be Powerful with Liz and Lee. It's a new day and we're so glad you're here.
So you can expect to hear candid conversations on what it means to be powerful. Live authentically, live in the midst of ups and downs, productively, and above all else, joyfully.
We are so thankful for you, our community of listeners, and we hope you enjoy today's show. Hi, everyone. Hello, Liz.
Hi, Lee.
And drum roll for our guest today, everybody watching and listening. Today we have on Molly Ruggere. She is an alcohol freedom life coach. Did I say that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Good. Well, we're going to dive in. Right now we are kind of ahead of the holidays. I think that your message is going to ring true for a lot of people, hopefully. And so we're just glad that you're here today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, both of you.
Thank you.
I've got the question that's going to go out of the gate really quick.
You're good at this.
I've got an out of the gate question.
Yeah.
And then you actually, in our show notes, we're going to have all the things that Molly does and all of her credentials, and eventually we'll let her actually speak. But,
No, you guys just talk about it. That's perfect.
what is the difference in being an alcohol freedom coach and knowing that you are an alcoholic and maybe you have to go to AA? How do you help your clients understand, oh no, I'm just in the habit of drinking too much, probably coming out of COVID and the things that we've been going through, or that you've actually got the disease of alcoholism?
Yeah, so it is a very interesting, nuanced space, and things are changing every day. So I don't even personally use the term alcoholic. I think more of it as the alcohol use disorder, which is more of a spectrum. So I work with people that I would say are on the moderate end of that spectrum rather than the severe. So nowadays the term's gray area drinker. So someone that recognizes their alcohol use is a problem for them, but not necessarily, having all of the examples of the rock bottom, if you will. Maybe they don't have a DUI or they didn't go to rehab or whatever it is, but their drinking is a problem for them. It might not be every day, but they feel like it's holding them back from achieving their potential or it's causing issues in their lives.
Okay. So there's no criteria. There's no over 2 drinks of, a night or any of that sort of thing.
No, there's no magic number. Gotcha. I think it is there. I've had clients that have 1 glass of wine a night, and that's enough for them to feel like their stress levels are higher. They're not able to do their workouts. They're not able to be their best selves. They're hungover. It's affecting their health, and that's enough. The only criteria I really have is if it is severe enough that if they took a break from it, it would be a physical dependency and they would need medical treatment, because alcohol withdrawal can actually kill you if you're not treated with a medical professional, which I am not. So that is a criteria. If you're not able to take a break from alcohol without medical treatment, then I would be working with that person.
Got it. So then you're able to refer out more to a medical doctor.
Right.
So what's your training and experience, and how long have you been doing this?
Yeah. So I got my regular life coaching certification a few years ago. And I also personally went through the process of changing my own relationship with alcohol, I guess, almost 5 years ago. I'll tell you all about it. And, I did a lot of my own research, got involved with a bunch of different programs and learning that way. And then I recently completed this Naked Minds coaching certification program. And
great term.
What this Naked Mind is it's a science-based modern approach to alcohol and changing our relationship with alcohol. And as we've talked about a little bit before this, it's not focused on sobriety. It's really focused on getting you to that place with alcohol that makes you feel at peace. So for someone, it could be a drink once a year, a drink once a week, whatever it is. It's however you want to feel in relationship to alcohol rather than sobriety, complete abstinence for life. Our goal isn't to get sober. Our goal is to feel comfortable and at peace with alcohol in whatever way that looks.
Don't you think that's how it should be? Not should, but with everything we do in our lives. I think the way you explain that, really resonates with me about finding peace and comfort in however we approach anything in our life, whether it's our relationship with another human or alcohol or food. I think people can really struggle. So I like that explanation a lot. And so how long have you been doing this?
So I've been doing this now, I guess, coming up on 3 years.
Right. Okay.
I've been doing it full time for a year. So I left my corporate job exactly a year ago. Actually, I think it was a year ago tomorrow.
Well done.
So I was doing that on the side.
A true entrepreneur.
As well as Counterculture.
Took an edge, took the leap.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you want to know her story.
I want to know, briefly, because my watchword is joie de vivre, besides be powerful, and it all goes together. Joy of life, power, all that. And so I enjoy a glass of wine, or I enjoy a dirty martini on a weekend. And I've always said, God, I never want to become an alcoholic, because then I couldn't really enjoy my wine, right? I couldn't really enjoy it. And I'm all about that. So tell me when you decided that too much was too much.
Right. Yeah. So this was 5 years ago. I was 27 at the time. And I'd love to say that this was me just deciding to be healthy and doing something good for myself. But I was in the same mindset of, if I stop drinking, that means I'm an alcoholic. So I have to make this work. Right. I'm too young to not drink. I lived in New York City. It was, I was in public relations. There. And it's so normalized. Like the bars are open till 4 a.m. Yeah. You don't drive. So you don't have like a lot of those markers of, you've gone too far, because A, everyone else is doing it. B, everyone else is doing it till 4 on a Tuesday. Right. And, it just like everything else in New York, in a New York minute, I guess, it became an issue for me in terms of, I was just experiencing, what really changed it was I went through a breakup at the end in the spring of 2017. And that was really the first time that I stopped drinking just for fun and socializing, and started using alcohol as a way to like self-medicate and feel less like guilt and shame, ironically, over the things that had happened because of my alcohol use.
Oh, wow. So, isn't that the truth for so many? I bet. I mean, that's almost a rite of passage in some ways. When you think for people in their 20s or late teens, I'm not sure, you're not supposed to drink till you're 21, but everyone probably does before. And you just have to learn how to deal with that. And I mean, and really, I think you roll the dice. Like, what if you really are the addictive personality that you could easily have the disease? Alcoholism is a problem. As you just said, coming off of alcohol and having the disease of alcoholism can literally kill you. So, I mean, we all kind of roll the dice with that. Yeah. What would you give your 20-year-old self that recommendation?
Well, that is what you say is the disease of alcoholism. I don't use the term disease per se, but I think there are a number of factors. Genetics is a huge factor, as well as biological, social, environmental, all of those things. So I had like the perfect storm. I had some mental health issues that I had never been on medication before. So some issues with depression and anxiety that were not medicated, social anxiety. Alcohol was a tool for me, especially for social anxiety. So when I was learning to drink in college, that's when I was also learning to become an adult. So I was learning all of these beliefs and uses for alcohol. Alcohol helps you date. Alcohol helps you socialize. Alcohol helps you
walk in the room.
Yeah, and you watch TV and you see like, you know, Sex in the City or something, and they're having a glass of wine at the end of a stressful day.
The martinis, though, on Sex in the City, don't you just go, ooh.
Oh, yeah. And it's glamorous. And I didn't realize that if you didn't, the first time you had a sip of alcohol, if you didn't have an alcoholic experience, I didn't think it was progressive in that way. I didn't realize that you could have a problem grow. I didn't realize your tolerance was a thing you had to worry about. So in terms of what I would tell my 20-year-old self, I think it would be to, understand the dangers of alcohol and the fact that it can progress, and to just be more mindful of it, and also think about what I'm really using it for and what my motives are. Because I very much had to learn how to like adult without that thing at 27 because it had been.
And you're lucky that you did learn that early. So it was the breakup with your boyfriend that kind of was the trigger for you to, did you get a life coach? Did you go to AA? Like, what was your solution?
Yeah. So basically I started experiencing, and now I'm grateful this happened, but these mysterious health issues.
Oh, wow.
My liver enzymes were elevated. My face was bloated. My family thought I was actually sick, like when I came home for Christmas, because I just looked unhealthy. My hair was like falling out.
Were you allergic to it?
I don't think so.
You just were.
I just was consuming a lot. I mean, it was, I lived and worked in Brooklyn. So I would walk home at the end of the day and pick up a bottle of wine
Sure.
and drink the whole bottle of wine until I like went to sleep, and you know, sometimes more than that. And it just, that was my new routine that I got into. And so it was just like massive amounts of alcohol that my body couldn't handle. So my liver enzymes, like I said, were elevated, and just different things. Like I felt like crap all of the time. I was just very emotional, like up and down and crying constantly. I was just very unhappy. And so I finally kind of told my parents, like, I think it might because I'm drinking a lot. I don't know though. Like just kind of like threw it out there. And I think now that was my way of kind of asking for help.
Your call.
And so that sort of put things into motion. And they kind of realized, my dad is in AA, so they sort of realized like, this could be a thing, a real thing. And so that's when they were like, you should move home and try and get sober and stop drinking. And so that's what I did. Yeah.
So I
moved back to Charlotte, and I did AA. That was not what I wanted to do at all. But again, I was kind of at the mercy of my parents. And they said, you know, if you're going to live here, I tried to just like white knuckle it, if you will. Cause I was like, going to AA was my nightmare. Like I did not want to do that at all.
So that didn't feel like you really were supposed to be there.
No, I didn't want to do it, but I also knew that I couldn't figure out how to live sober. And there was nothing. I tried Googling, I tried finding anything else. And at that time, just 5 years ago, you couldn't find anything else.
You're that in between.
So you're not an alcoholic. You're not.
I mean, I don't identify as an alcoholic. I think some people do, some people don't. That term's kind of like going away.
We all know how important it is to fuel yourself just right every morning. Liz, what's your jet fuel?
It's the HSM smoothie, of course.
Obviously.
But also, I've got a new little thing.
You've got a new friend? From Sakara Life, the Metabolism Super Powder is your go-to. It fires up your metabolism, curbs sugar cravings, helps ease bloat, and is it delicious?
Oh, it's so good, especially in your coffee. It's got a great taste.
Dump it in the coffee, blend it up and go.
Dump it in the coffee, blend it, and be excited because you're going to love it.
Y'all go to sakaralife.com. When you check out, you'll receive 20% off your order, which is a great deal by using the code XOLizHSM. That's XOLIZHSM for 20% off your order at sakaralife.com.
People that are in AA, I think, do. I am not in AA. And so, I mean, there was a point where I kind of have to if you're in meetings. But it never felt right to me. I always thought, like, I drank at this point, I'm coming up on drinking less in my life than not drinking, if that makes sense. So being a non-drinker longer than a drinker. So why would I want to take on a label for the rest of my life that is stigmatized, that doesn't really even apply to me now?
It's interesting that you say that, because I've been alive a long time and I've seen my friends come in and out of alcoholism or AA. And I would say 50%, or I not only have a few friends that have done this, but I can name 2 of them that I don't think were really alcoholics, because what they went through was some kind of an identity crisis, and they chose to quit drinking alcohol, which alcohol was exacerbating their issues. But I mean, I've always thought, gosh, dude, you have to be so extreme. And how, wouldn't it be nice to have like a real test? Like, is there a blood test?
There isn't. That's the thing. It's that term is, first of all, it's not a medical term. So you can take that on. It's kind of a self-identified term that is popularized through 12 steps. And
I see.
In my mind, it's whether you are or whether you are. 100%. Yeah, it definitely
go
works.
there if you need it.
Exactly. Yeah. I never want to talk badly about it. It definitely helped me a lot. I would just say that the term it's kind of irrelevant at this point. It's like, is alcohol causing you problems or not? If it's not, if it's enhancing your life, then great. Like, keep doing what you're doing. But if it is affecting you in a negative way, or just holding you back, whether it's not being able to get to your workouts again, or like eating healthy, or holding you back from achieving your goals, that's enough to change your relationship with it. And it doesn't mean you have a label now for your life.
But it's okay to have to have a hangover now and then, right?
I mean, yeah, it's personal preference.
How many times have I taught this class in here? No,
I mean, what I say is like, alcohol is neutral, just like food is neutral, just like anything else. Exercise, any of those things, you can internalize and make negative or positive for yourself. But it's not one way or the other. It's not bad or immoral to drink alcohol.
And kind of, looking at you, and I think we said to Carrie, who works with us, we're going to have Molly on. It's about freedom from alcohol. And she was like, you are? Y'all are? In a laughable way, because I think you've always said, joy of life. And for you and your capability, your moderation and how you enjoy life, that works.
Well, I do in moderation.
Exactly.
I've since I was in college, I never drank to get drunk.
Right.
As a matter of fact, when I feel that I'm getting somewhere close to that, I just roll it back.
Yeah.
And then the water starts because I'm like, whoa, I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
That is way too much.
And that's good. A lot of people don't have that
ability.
I see.
And it is like you were saying, I think that's a key difference, that you weren't drinking to get drunk.
Never was.
I was always
except in college for sure.
All of us were drinking to get drunk. And that's just kind of how everybody drank around me my entire drinking career.
Do you think, okay, so let's talk about the ladies in the studio that are absent right at this moment, but we all have gone through, everybody in the world has gone through the pandemic. And at least there are people, and probably in your circles too, the people that come in here, everybody's having a tiny bit of a struggle with, I need to really roll it back a little bit. I'm drinking too much. Every time I go to lunch with my girlfriends, we have a glass of wine, then I have a glass of wine at night, and then I'm da-da-da-da-da. And so, and people worry about it. They worry about it for different reasons. Sometimes it's weight. Sometimes it's I've got a hangover again or whatever. So talking to the moms out there and the people that are trying to get in the road after, what we all went through. And I think that is a real thing.
Yeah.
Where do we begin?
Where do we begin?
Well, I will say there's actual research and data to back up that women in particular, stress-related drinking went up by 41% during the pandemic.
I'm not surprised.
And I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like between lack of routine, kids at home, work stress, trying to cohabitate and work and be a teacher, like it makes complete sense. And it affected women more than men because I think by default women, took on that role.
Right.
So I have a lot of clients that came to me because of that. Like they drank out of boredom. They just started their wine earlier in the day. And, they'd never had a problem. I have women in their 50s, 60s that are empty nesters that, they've never had an issue with it. It's always been social. And they just realized, oh, wow, now what used to be one glass is a bottle before 7 p.m. before dinner. And I don't know how to stop that. I don't want to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. That doesn't feel like the right place for me, but I know I need to change it.
So maybe, if you drink a bottle of wine, you're going to be drunk. Pretty much anybody, right? Maybe not the big guy that weighs 250 pounds or something, but you're going to be drunk at one bottle of wine.
The thing is my tolerance got so high that it didn't really make me feel that drunk. And that's the other thing I didn't know is that you can increase your tolerance very quickly. I think some people are just kind of born with a higher tolerance. Like I was never that person. Well, sometimes, but most of the time I was not the person that was puking or falling over.
Sure.
I guess I held my liquor well.
That's
almost not a good thing.
Though, right?
No, it just means you drink a lot of alcohol.
Yes.
And
I think that's to your point. There's not some magic number. If you're doing X, then you need Y.
Right.
Everybody's experience.
We want to know
different.
that formula though, because we want to know that we're safe and that like this can't happen to us.
Right.
So people do want to know, like I've had interviews before where people have said, but you didn't have a problem, right? Because I say I don't identify as an alcoholic.
Right.
And I'm just kind of like, what is a problem? I mean, I had a problem for sure, but it didn't need to get to that level.
No.
I let it get to that level because the idea of quitting drinking at 27, which was like a part of my identity and what I did for fun, that was worse than like being an alcoholic.
Do you drink now? Do you drink lightly or
not really.
You just don't really, you're fine?
No, I don't. I think what I do with my clients and what I kind of did without realizing it with myself was I kind of broke all of those beliefs that I had. I deconstructed all of the reasons I needed alcohol, if you will. So now I could take it or leave it. I just choose not to drink it because why?
It doesn't serve you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that's one thing that popped into my head is like your relationship with it, I think really can change over time. For instance, I now have teenagers in the house. So if they're out at a party, I have to be prepared to go pick up a teenager and not have a buzz. I have to be prepared to be a role model now for my children who are starting to be in an environment where alcohol is available.
Do you think that's more of a thing now? Because when I was in high school, it didn't seem as much of a thing. But it's
like how the younger drinking,
like the younger kids drinking. I
know it was a big thing when I wasn't invited to the parties where there was the drinking. The select times I did get invited, I loved it. I had a great time.
Right.
But I've heard that actually the younger generations, the Gen Z, are drinking less.
Oh, good.
I think there's more diversification of ways to get a buzz, if you will, out there.
Which is not great.
Not necessarily drugs, but there's like adaptogens. People are paying more attention to like health, and with the internet and like the democratization of information, we're all learning more at a faster rate. So I don't know. I don't have stats on that, but from what I've heard, Gen Z is actually drinking less than
I think
the
they're smart then.
generations.
And what we wanted to do is, and I think part of the reason I like to have a glass of wine at night is the sort of and we're leveling out. We're just going to, everything's just going to do this. Well, there's a lot of like we were talking about the other day, and we want to get them in the studio. And if you all hear us talking today, please text us or write on the, our show notes or whatever, how to do this. We really want to look into the CBD drinks. Some of those drinks are just we sell CBD here in the studio.
Yeah, I'll
just
have CBD.
Calming.
I do,
it's just, and it's just sort of like, and we're going to take it down. Not like, and we're going. It's just sort of a,
but let's talk to that. For some people, that connection or that dependency on waiting for that at the end of the day to be the level out might not serve some people. And that's kind of the work, is figuring out what else can I do that helps me do the level out that, for some people it works and for some people it doesn't.
I feel like that's going to be an individual choice. And honestly, here we are in our exercise studio, and I have seen clients over-exercise. And I've given people advice to rest their bodies, right? So, everything can be overdone. Exactly. And you can, with exercise, it would be injury. With not enough rest, it can be all kinds of things, anxiety. So it just seems to be part of the thing, part of the life. Yeah. And nobody wants to hear the old term moderation is key, but kind of it is. Yeah.
I mean, I say it's motive too. It's like, why are you exercising? Why are you eating these things? Even if it's, if it becomes a tool to hide from, numb out, essentially. If you can't, end the day without, I've actually gotten really bad about eating sweets. So this is something I'm paying attention to. It's like, if it's a source of comfort. You cannot eat sweets in here. I mean, it's like, what is the motive? What are you either not addressing? If you purely just want to have a treat at the end of the day and you don't feel bad about it, it's not affecting your health, then like go for it. Right. Yeah. What the cocktail, it's like, have it at the end of the day if that feels good for you, but are you mentally fixated on it all day long? Are you like obsessing about it? Can you not go do something else at that time of day because you have to have that drink? Then it's a crutch, and then it is holding you back.
That's true.
So
that's true.
Really good
What if you're like me and you just really can't have a great meal without a good glass of red wine?
I mean, it's honestly,
to me, like the taste level. I know. Yeah, because to me, it's like, I'm not going to have this great meal and not have some kind of great like Bordeaux or something. Yeah, it's just but I'm also going to not go.
You're not using that meal as like a gateway to drink the rest of that bottle of Bordeaux.
Not usually.
Yeah. I mean, Liz, no. But your mindset isn't like, I'm going to get drunk.
No. My mindset is I just love taste. And I'm always, just like you're like in your sweets, you like the taste. I would venture to say sweets are worse for you.
Yeah. I don't know. We can discuss that.
Yeah, we can go there.
I mean, there's,
But I think here's the bottom line is it's different for everybody. Yeah, like you can preach that having a good glass of wine is great and not have sugar. And there's, data behind both, but everybody's different. And it's why you're doing it in your relationship with that. Right. So when somebody comes to you, what is the process of what you're going to do with them to help them?
Yeah. So it's a multi-step process. First of all, I have them fill out a questionnaire just to get some data around what they're looking for, make sure we're a general fit. Then I do a consultation. So we have a conversation. I tell them about the way that I approach, my process, and get some more information about what they're looking for, see if we're a mutual fit. And if I take on a private client, I'll start them at different points on this path. So it's either if they are still drinking and the idea of not drinking is just unfathomable, they don't want to stop XYZ, we don't try to stop. We actually stop trying to stop drinking.
That's so smart.
Yeah, because
the minute you start,
because if you're in this mindset of deprivation without knowing the why but like if you change the behavior before you change the mindset, then you're not going to be successful long term because I mean, a lot of this is really similar to fitness because if you're operating purely on willpower, that's a finite resource that's going to extinguish. Then you're going to beat yourself up for, you know, breaking the streak of perfection. So I give them all a copy of This Naked Mind and they read it. We use a bunch of the tools to really explore what their beliefs are in relation to alcohol. So a lot of it is I drink for stress. I drink to socialize. I drink to have fun. I drink out of boredom. You know, a lot of it is just habit and that's sort of what we explore and what are their primary beliefs. So we work through those beliefs with a multi-step process. And when they get to that place where they have the knowledge of how alcohol affects them, they've done some work on the beliefs, then we kind of start to experiment with social situations where they don't drink. And then it's all just, again, it's like observation. It's like a science experiment, like collecting data. So when they drink and they didn't want to, that's not a relapse or a slip. It is a data point. And we take that and like learn from it. So, and then, you know, there comes a point where we do want to take a break at some point just to have that time of clarity and to really experience life without alcohol. But it's different for everyone. Again, the break might be 2 weeks for someone or 6 months for someone. And it's all so personalized and tailored to the individual because our reasons for drinking are so personal.
Liz, you know what time of year it is?
It's spray tan time.
Spray tan time because the holiday season and the parties are upon us. And I, for one, am always pale. You're looking good, but that's because you keep your glow going with no shade spray tanning. Isn't that right?
I love Holly. She comes to my house.
That is the beauty of this deal.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So all you have to do is go to noshadespraytanning.com, book your appointment. Holly will come to you, pop up her tent, mix a perfect color for you.
Yes.
Because we do not have the same colors.
Much deeper than yours.
And we both look and feel amazing for at least a week. Last time we got a spray tan, everyone at the studio was freaking out. Wow, y'all look great. Makes you feel good and confident and glowing. And it's just as easy as clicking the link and letting her come to you.
Happy tanning. Right.
Well, what I like too is how much you can delve into it. So you go to your general practitioner for your yearly appointment and there's on the page how much you're drinking per week and like raise your hand if you have, you know, shot under on that. And a doctor has a lot to cover in that time. And they're not going to say, well, what's your motivation and all this, right? They're doing diagnostics. And so I like that opportunity to collect data and kind of do that trial and error in a real life setting.
A lot of doctors aren't trained to get into that. It's surprising, like the medical community and you know, there are addiction specialists, of course, but in therapy, if it's not their focus, I get therapists that refer clients to me because they, you know, that's not their area of expertise and they don't have that training. They don't learn that much about it. So a lot of doctors will just say, okay, you need to stop. And if you can't, go to AA, but that's it. That's all the resources they provide.
Right.
Why don't you start speaking in high schools and colleges?
It's actually something that's been
suggested. I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah,
it is a good idea.
It's on my bucket list.
I would say high schools. Go straight into a high school and go, no doubt, you guys are having a great time.
Yeah.
Here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah. It's hard to figure out because I actually was talking to my boyfriend about this the other day. Like if we had children, how would we talk about alcohol? Like would we, because he's a drinker and he was saying it's good to introduce it to them when they're young. And,
I agree.
And I think it is, but it's also, that's something I'm trying to figure out. I don't drink and like giving them the caveat of, you know, have it, but also have informed consent around it. Know what you're dealing with.
Can I tell you about 2 stories?
Yes.
Okay, we can leave it or not leave it. I have 2 stories. When I was 17, my mother took me in Atlanta to a bar, a really nice place. And I said, Mom, I really want to have an adult drink. I really want to drink. And so I was all excited. I was going to get like a pina colada. I'm 17. That's way too young, right? So without even skipping a beat, she goes, oh, I'll order it for you. And I was like, okay, that sounds good to me. My brother is there. He's 5 years older and he can drink. He's old enough. And so she orders me a scotch and water. And
good God.
I took a sip and I went, that's the worst thing I've ever tasted in my life. I sat it there for the rest of the night and I don't think I really drank. You know, I was done. Second story for my own daughter, when she was like 14, 15, we introduced a really good wine, like one of those you save for company, you know? and said, never drink anything less than, worse than this, and sip on it for the entire time. And now and then we allowed her to have a glass of wine that she had the entire duration of the meal, and no more, no less, all that. Less if she wanted. But anyway, so, I think there's different ways you can do that. Now, not to say, I think it worked for me. It pushed me away from alcohol.
Yeah, that's so interesting. If you had gotten a pina colada,
I would have been like, and I want more. And I like this buzz I'm getting. Right. But I took one sip of that. And she goes, if you want to be an adult, I'll order you an adult drink. And
that's funny.
An adult drink.
It's a no-nonsense.
And to this day, I do not drink scotch.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Anyway.
There's a million ways to do it.
Yeah. So, I don't know how you do it. But kids are going to do it.
Yeah. 100%.
So how do you decipher which is the better way for your individual kid?
And I think I'll say too, my parents did a similar thing. They would let us have like champagne on New Year's. I remember one year they called my friend's parents to ask if it was okay if we all had a glass of champagne. And I was raised with cocktail hour, and I always saw it as very glamorous and sophisticated and a rite of passage. And so I was so excited when I got to have that drink with my parents. Yeah. Of course, I had, drank in secret as a high schooler occasionally. Mom's probably watching this, so
Mom, she
a few times. And my sister grew up in the same family, the same experience, and she, doesn't have any issues with alcohol. She binge drank in college like everyone else, but she barely drinks now. So I think, again, she also didn't live in New York City, and she didn't have the social anxiety that I have. Right. So it does come down to, those experiences as a kid. But in the end, it's like, give them the knowledge, the information, and then they can decide how that works for them in their own lives.
Exactly.
Yes. Again, it's all those factors come into play.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the simple, the more you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more you know about yourself and about what you're ingesting and how that affects your life and where it leads you down a path that feels better for you or where it holds you back.
Right.
And so you started something called, you said it, but I don't know that we focused enough on it, Counterculture Club?
Yes.
Okay, explain to me what that is.
Yeah, so that Counterculture Club is really—
This is vodka, by the way.
Oh, God.
You take it, it must be so smooth. Just no idea.
Oh my gosh.
Just kidding.
After this is going to come out with the rest of the celebrities with a new vodka line, new tequila line. Okay.
Counterculture Club.
Yeah, right.
I started that. Honestly, this whole career that I have now started as me wanting to find friends. Like I was maybe a year or two alcohol free at that point, wasn't going to meetings, wasn't in 12 steps. So I didn't know any sober people. I didn't know any women my age.
Where do you go? Do you go to a bar?
Well, there's honestly, I was like, even, like going to workout class, or there are breweries, and now you got to get a drink ticket.
We don't serve alcohol here. You can come here.
Okay. Well,
you don't have to drink until you're seeing them.
But it's really hard to find those people. How do you find them? Like you go up and you say, like, do you drink? Like, I don't know. So I realized that if I felt that way, there had to be other people my age that felt that way too. And I wasn't going to go back to meetings to meet friends that felt inauthentic and not for me. So I learned confidence in not drinking. And so I said, if I can do that, which is the hardest thing I've ever done, then I can start this group. And so that's all it was a kind of a hobby, like a passion project of creating alcohol-free social environments. We started with like a coffee meetup, and just like I wanted friends to do these activities with, like going camping or going hiking. Like there was so much more I wanted to explore, but I didn't want to be the only non-drinker doing it. Right. And nowadays, like it's hard to find any activity where
truly
there's no alcohol, even healthy related activities.
That's true.
So yeah.
So you started that, and now how do people find it and use it? I mean, is it an app? Is it a true in-person meetup?
So, well, it was interesting because the pandemic kind of changed the narrative of the pivot, if you will, of what we were supposed to do. So we had our first alcohol-free happy hour event planned. Okay. It was going to be March 17th, 2020. Oh. And so that obviously didn't happen.
That's just had it last the year. Day everything shut down because I remember that day. It's right in here always.
Yeah. So I think actually it was right around that time period.
And that's when you really wanted to start drinking. You're like, what?
Yeah. And the timing was insane. So we had just gotten an interview in Axios, got all these followers on Instagram. It was like ready to go. And then obviously that didn't happen. So that changed the way that I was thinking of the group. But I knew that people still wanted that connection, that support. So I made it virtual, and I started doing book clubs. I also did some outdoor yoga, but it went from being like purely in-person experiences to being, online connection. And so December of 2020, I launched a membership. So it was virtual and in person. So all the people that I brought together during the pandemic, we started having an actual membership. And now at this point, it's kind of pivoting again, where it's a lot of Charlotte women are joining because they want that in-person connection. They might have changed their drinking during the pandemic. It's also not just for women that don't drink. It's for anybody that wants to experiment with socializing.
So do you serve alcohol also?
No. So this is entirely alcohol-free. So we have a lot of like non-alcoholic beer representatives that we're like working with. Like there's so many non-alcoholic drinks. We're actually hosting, and I haven't officially announced this yet, but we're hosting Charlotte's first major non-alcoholic drinks festival.
Wow.
During dry January.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really
good.
That's the whole idea with that is people do dry January and they think that means like staying home, drinking water.
Have you ever been out on February the 1st?
Exactly.
Oh,
so
my gosh.
we're throwing like a huge party during dry January and it's going to be, non-alcoholic spirits, wines, beers. It's a beer festival essentially, but it's all non-alcoholic.
Great.
So
I want to
That's
come.
so good.
Let's go.
I think
you're invited.
Truly.
Yeah, no.
Because people need to experience, hey, we can have a great time without alcohol.
Yeah.
Because while you were having all those groups, there was a lot of women, especially, our friends, they were having cocktails online during COVID. And that was leading to the thing. You did the absolute opposite and made it a thing that came out of COVID. And I think people are really ready for that now.
I think they are too. And unfortunately, there is probably internal and external shame related to drinking and its effects. And I think normalizing activities that make people not so nervous to go to an alcohol-free event or rely on alcohol otherwise is so wonderful and refreshing. And so I'm glad that we have you in our community.
Yeah,
too. This is really good. I wasn't quite sure what you were doing. And I think this is really
it's different.
It's impressive really and it's also practical. It's practical advice. That you're giving to people that are listening to us. You are just the perfect person to say, you don't have to go and do it. Let me show you how it's done.
Right. And it's an opportunity. I see it again with that freedom, abundance. Like when I was at that point where I was quitting alcohol, I felt like my life was over. Like I thought I was missing out on everything fun. And I realized as I started to appreciate not drinking that this was like, we call it like a life hack or a superpower because you get to feel your best and you get to, there's so many physical and mental benefits of not drinking that nobody really talks about. Yeah. And so it was almost like not drinking needs a rebrand for me.
Yeah.
Like I was like, it is a lifestyle to celebrate. And also it is a lifestyle you can dip your toe in. And I say my audience is non-drinkers as much as it is drinkers in terms of our events. Because,
that's why I want you to make it clear. So for these events you're going to have, if they are drinkers, they're welcome to come. Yeah. There's going to be no shaming for drinking.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay. No, they're non-drinking events. They're just non-alcoholic.
I know. Right.
You can't bring your own beer, Liz.
There's no BYOB situation, but the only requirement is that we want to provide an alcohol-free space. So
I love it.
There's no drinking at our events. Right. But, if you want to go out to dinner and have wine afterwards, that's
great.
Fine. Yeah.
I think this is so refreshing. Really good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let's land the plane. Give everybody some your major tips besides not drinking. First of all, look at you. Health and well-being and wellness is what we're all about. And if drinking is making you feel hungover every single day and you're not your best and having a hard time with your life, whether it's your partner or your kids, maybe just taking a look at what you do or speaking with her is a good idea.
Yeah, I think I sort of realized I think I look better now than I did at 27.
Well, you're really
exercising,
old now. You're
I'm eating healthy.
31.
I'm 32.
32.
But really, you think your 20s are your prime, and I was not my prime. No. At the time, I thought I looked great, but it wasn't until I stopped drinking that I started exercising regularly. I started eating healthier. Right. I started exercising too, not as a way to lose weight, but as a way to clear my head. I remember during the pandemic, there was a moment where I was going through a really stressful situation in a relationship. And I sat on my couch. I remember this vividly. And I said, I need to go for a run. Yes. And when I had that thought automatically come in my head, I was like, whoa. Because that was something that I would always have connected to wanting to drink. Yeah. But that was the first time that I was like, I'm stressed. Running will help.
Or Hilliard Studio Method.
Exactly. Well, you were close because it was a pandemic.
Right.
But yeah.
Good for you.
That's awesome.
Okay, so we can find you at Counterculture Club.
Yes.
What's the best Instagram?
So countercultureclub.org is our website, and that's where you can find the coaching and the membership and all of those things. Our events, we do public facing events for everyone. So membership is for people that want those regular monthly events just specifically for that group. So we do like special events as well as monthly meetups and online calls and things like that. So that website has all of those things. Counterculture_club is the Counterculture Club Instagram. And my Instagram for my coaching is at Molly Ruggere.
Okay.
So
perfect.
Wonderful. Yeah, well, I love that we've delved into this. And I mean, I've learned a lot. And I think a lot of people are kind of in that gray area. And just to feel more comfortable about finding like-minded people or somebody like Molly to help you directly.
Or just to be able to go out to your usual events and feel comfortable not drinking, even though you're around people that are drinking.
Yeah. And in terms of what kind of tips, it depends on who I'm speaking to. I know some people are doing holidays alcohol-free, some are not. But I would say if you want to try changing your relationship with alcohol, see it as an opportunity and as an experiment. Don't see it as a punishment, because going into that with curiosity and excitement, that is what makes the experience. Exactly. So much better.
I mean, if you punish yourself, if you diet, if you exercise too much, I mean, if you do too much, that's a punishment.
Exactly.
This is about living life to fullness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. On that note,
thank you.
Well done. Thank you so much, Molly, for being here.
Of course.
It was a pleasure. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to us today, wherever you get your podcasts. And remember, you can now find our podcast on YouTube.
Yeah. If you liked it, please share, rate, and review. We love 5 stars. And we hope you'll work out with us online or in studio at HilliardStudioMethod.com.